So with our lovely Miss M, ready cuteness? We're just gonna warm up a little bit with a longer training leash. Ready? Yes. So the benefit of having a drag line or a training leash is that, again, it allows your pup to have a little bit more wiggle room in an environment where maybe they're not, oops, sorry, cuteness, where they're not safe to be loose as of yet. So if your babe doesn't have much for a recall, or maybe, for example, the environment is too dangerous, there could be cars off in the distance, or, again, a scenario where you just don't want your dog to be loose in case of an emergency. So the benefit of this drag line is that we can start to get her comfortable, bringing this one and sort of having it tether behind her. This can also be a great way to allow your babe to have more of the environment to go explore and check out, and then practice again that reorientation back to you from the environment. So I know we were mentioning earlier in the first video with Miss M is the benefit of allowing your puppy to reorient back to you is it starts to create this ability for your puppy to practice recalls, loose leash walking, and some of these really nice foundation behaviors. So for Miss M, I do just go ahead and sometimes send her off to the side, see if I can get her to come back into my space. Nice job, cuteness. And I just feed for this lovely, engagement. So another thing I like to work on is a little bit with like getting your pup comfortable feeling the gear on, but also making sure that if you're ever doing some recall practice that you think about like the recall rules. There are normally 3 that I tend to get really stuck on, which are important so your recalls stay beneficial and don't become unattainable. So for example, there are some lovely noises in the building, so we do have some great distractions today. So for example, for Miss M, recall rule number 1 would be to make sure it's not the end of fun. So what I mean by that is if, let's say, every time you call your lovely lady to you, you leash her up and we go in the house, or you leash her up and we leave the play environment, or whatever it might be she finds fun. If, for example, it's always, again, recall is then paired with the end of the fun experience or scenario, your babe might start to think that every time you do a recall, it means the game is over. So your babe may have been really good at doing recalls in the beginning. So like coming when called from the yard, and then it started to get a little bit less and less attainable. So if your babe tends to play keep away, or if your babe tends to think it's kind of a game to have you chase them around, that might become more fun for them than the actual recall was from the beginning. So make sure that whatever you're doing are skills that you'd like to have your ladies get better at. If they're failing, then try not to have the girls either be loose and doing poorly in that setup. So for our little lady, again, recall rule number 1, don't allow it to become the end of fun. Recall rule number 2 would be to make sure not to pair it with something scary. So if, let's say, she was for some reason afraid of her harness, or she was afraid of something similar, it could be eardrops, whatever. If, let's say, you're calling her as you're holding the spooky thing, you're now pairing the recall with the bringing of what she deems negative or spooky. Maya, yes. So if, let's say, we start to pair recall with, hey, let's go take a tub, and your babe is very flustered by the tub situation, nice shake off, cuteness, then what may end up happening is the next time you call them, they might think, gee, is this going to be a bathtub situation again, or am I going to be okay? So I would be very cautionary of pairing something spooky that your babe really finds a little overwhelming right now with your recall. If you have to go get something done, I wouldn't recommend to use recall at all. I would just go and grab your babe and try to help them through the situation. Maya, come. Yes. If, for example, they really are having a hard time with cooperative care, which is them getting comfortable being handled or groomed or even having vet visit scenarios, those would be situations where I would definitely check out some of the resources I'll be sending along tonight. Some of them are not new to students who have already taken classes with me, but I'll bring along those resources for everybody in the program so that way you still have them at your leisure to take a peek-see at. So with our lovely Miss M, again, don't make recalls the end of fun. Don't make recalls paired with something negative or spooky. And then the third one would be, even if your babe has done the silliest thing ever, let's say running away, they go out in the middle of the road, they come back to you eventually. If you scold them for when they finally come back, your babe is going to think that coming to you can be at times threatening, spooky, or uneasy. So make sure even if they've done the silliest thing ever, you're not going to go ahead. Nice job, cuteness. Ready? And pair the recall with getting into trouble. So even if they've done something that really upset you and overwhelmed you, as sweet as you can be, just say, Mommy is not a very happy lady right now, and just bring them to the safe bubble they need to be in. But if you scold the pup, they're not going to realize you're mad as to what they were doing prior. They're going to think that you're mad because they finally came to you. So make sure recalls, again, positive, not the end of fun, and that we don't always make them too hard. So if you find that your babe is going to be very unlikely to do the recall, don't bother asking. So another great way for this game is you could go ahead and be doing some lovely loose leash walking, and then throughout it, maybe you send your puppy away for a little snack. You can then go ahead and go, Maya, come. Yes, feed for that lovely moment. Let's say, for example, on this longer leash you're practicing and you call your puppy's name and there's no response whatsoever. Don't say their name and the cue word, which is come, over and over as your puppy's getting really overwhelmed or flustered or has no idea what the heck we're talking about. So let's say, for example, I'm going to just toss a few snacks to get her busy. Let's pretend Miss M, I said her name and I told her the C word and nothing happened. The benefit of having your line is you can walk down it, and obviously we pretend she's still off busy sniffing off to the side over here. So let's pretend I had said her name, told her the C word, nothing happened. I would go about half the distance from here, then go, Maya, come, and try to bring her roughly to where I first called her. So of course one of the snacks may have gone in the crack. So again, if there's a moment where she pauses and a little bit unsure, try to help your puppy, yes, be successful. Notice how I didn't say it over and over as I lost her for a moment. So you would want to say your recall twice tops. If you know she's going to do really poorly, which means she's not going to be able to do it well and feel comfortable enough to respond, don't keep asking because we're going to lose out on the meaning behind the word or the behavior itself too. So of course there's a snack that rolled into one of the cracks in the floor, which is always really entertaining. So she may or may not be able to get it out. I might have to help her later. So let's say, for example, she's very sort of stuck on this little bad boy. Did it get lost in the food? Oh, in the crack? Oh, I think she got it. Good job, cuteness. So again, if your babe is all over you and is very attentive, feed for those moments where they automatically check in. You're, remember, trying to build value in skills, chewing's optional, in skills you'd like to have happen again. Oh my goodness, did you get it okay? She's like, chewing is for losers. So when sometimes they're gulping down some of these snacks, even though they're very nice training treats, some of them are very dry. And for some of the puppies, as they're a little drier, they stick as they're trying to go down. So we'll try to get a little bit of some of those softer snacks. Like the cheese is quite nice because it's squishy and slimy and not too tricky to get down. So the benefit of, again, having your babe work a little bit on the long lead is that if, again, they don't have the resilience or the ability or the comfort range, or they're a flight risk because of their comfort around certain new bubbles or sights and sounds, this could be a great way to add some safety for you and the pup while building that confidence. So I know right now we do have the noises. Oops, that one got stuck in my finger. Find it. And then obviously as they're a little bit drier, they do get stuck. So we'll do another little find it. And then Maya, come. Yes, nice job. So, but remember, if every behavior or skill set, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to bump the mic, has a bank account, you want to think about how many deposits have I put into one versus another. So if, let's say, sitting tends to happen really readily, it might be because sitting has been so heavily reinforced, and that's fine, but excuse me, maybe we need to add more deposits to other behaviors we'd like to have happen more readily. Nice job, cuteness. So, but again, Miss M is doing great for her very first day. I know it is a bit to take in with all the different sights and sounds. And then two, there's a big difference between coming here with you and her family versus coming here and getting dropped off with just me. So she's doing splendid for her very first day. But do remember that obviously when practicing some skills here, it could be a little different than practicing at home. So I would highly recommend to think about helping her generalize behavior or skill sets to many different bubbles. So if, again, we're finding certain bubbles are really hard for her, we may have to make those have a softer starting point with easier skills and more attainable behavior that seems soft enough for her to be comfortable and be able to partake. Nice job, cuteness. So right now, again, I'm just feeding her for all these funny things. There's the banging and noises going on in the building. Yes. So we'll sometimes rotate through that name recognition. We'll rotate through a little bit with that positive interrupter. And then sometimes we'll throw in that little recall again. So Maya, come. Yes, nice job. If your babe tends to rush towards you, but then sort of runs all the way by, one of my favorite things is to do a little find it, get her off and distracted, then go Maya, come. and then see if you can go right into a little find it right on the floor. That can sometimes help slow them down so they take a little pit stop. And then from there, you might feed several little snacks while they're spending time in front of you. So you're building up value again in being soft and nearby. This is very good. Nice job, cuteness. But you can see that obviously in her facial expression, she sometimes hears my littles also making crazy human noises that are maybe dinosaur noises instead. But when you're working with her and her sister, make sure that you're looking to their body language. So I know we've discussed this in class previous with the girls because they had taken, I believe it's beginner class, both the girls at 2 different points. Nice, great job, madam. So we want to make sure that if we're dealing with some stress, obviously life can be stressful to a certain extent. We don't want to completely avoid everything, but we also don't want to flood them. So I know today could have been, the first day is a little bit harder for all the beauties because they've never been plopped into the doggy day school program before. And it is a little bit of a learning curve. So almost like when you first go to kindergarten. So it is one of those situations where I will hope to see the comfort range build. Obviously, as the girls are here, this is just day number 1. And I know they're only doing 2 out of the 3 for this round because of your scheduling availability. So don't worry. But even if we don't get the girls completely comfortable in here, it's still, we're looking for little glimmers where they're feeling comfortable taking food and able to offer behaviors. So if you're not getting much for behavior, it could be, oh my goodness, that we're rushing the steps. Can you chew it, madam? Oh my goodness, did you get it? Good job. So it could be one of those situations where we're rushing the steps. And we really want to make sure, you all right there, madam? You should go get a drinky in a moment. So go at the rate that you are successful with your babe and that she is then having moments where she, again, is attaining materials. But remember, training's not linear. So I know a lot of times people would love instant gratification because that's our society. But remember that they also have their likes, their dislikes, their ability or range they can maybe get to. And just like with us, we have to have attainable goals. So I think the girls are doing really, really nicely for their very first day, getting a lot more comfortable in this weird building that is the training center. And we will just see how the girls progress from today to Thursday. So, but again, Miss M did a splendid job with the long lead and with some of the skills earlier and some of these lovely recalls and even her loose leash walk-in. Nice job, cuteness. But we'll give lovely Miss M a little breather. She's like, no, I'm not leaving. You can come with me.